What's up, YouTube? Welcome to the Bible Wisdom YouTube channel. I wanted to give some insight on why people say that the rapture is in the 6,000th year. As a disclaimer, I don't fully know where I stand with this prediction. But anyway, there's a few reasons why people will say that the rapture is at the 6,000th year. And according to the Jewish calendar, the 6,000th year is not for another 200 years. At least that's according to the Jewish calendar that I found online. But, some say, I don't know if that Jewish calendar is counting the time of Jesus and, including, I don't know if they take out some years for certain reasons. But, anyway, there's a few reasons why people think the rapture or the second coming is in the 6,000th year. One of those reasons is because of the fig tree principle. So they say that, Israel, once it reached 80 years old, then, the fig tree will be in full blossom, because in Scripture, Jesus compared the fig tree to Israel, at least according to some. And so that's some people's interpretation. And so, they say that 80 years, Israel just celebrated its 75th year. And so some say it would have happened when they reached their 75th year, by the way, which has passed, just a few months ago, as of recording this video. But, some people say that since there's only 5 years left until Israel reached 80. Let's see, it's 2023, so 2024, 2025, 2026, 2027. And so they say that the rapture is between, or the second coming is between 2027 and 2031. But, he said that, that's just a kind of a calculation that, no one really has an exact, accurate description of, the timeline of when God, had created everything. For example, when you go back to the time of Adam and Eve, we don't know how many days passed in between the time that they were created until the time that they fell. And even then, there's a few days that we just don't have recorded in Scripture. Even though you can kind of do some calculations as far as the kind of the genealogy of different people that is recorded in the Scriptures. And of course those are estimations, because the Bible only tells us some people about how long they lived. And those are estimates, because when it talks about other people who, you know, we don't know how long they lived, but it gives their name and their lineage up until Jesus. I think in the Gospel of Matthew, and I think could be Luke as well, that there's a genealogy given all the way to the time of Adam, all the way up to Jesus. And so there's that. Another reason why people say that, the rapture is in the 6,000th year, which somehow they're not going by the Jewish calendar, they're just going by a different system, is because God created the world in 6 days and he rested on the seventh day. And so they say that creation is only going to be around for 6,000 years, and on the 7,000th year is the Sabbath rest. And so using creation and how it was made in 6 days, they come to the conclusion that, the rapture must, or the second coming must be in 2027 to 2031, around those time frames, with a few years that are, kind of give or take a few years or so. Now, the person that I saw, who made this kind of prophecy video that I watched about the 6,000th year, they don't necessarily believe in the rapture. And so they kind of believe in just the second coming. And so to me, there's at least 7 years that they are, kind of missing out on as far as when the tribulation happens. Unless they're saying, hey, the tribulation happens on the 6,000th year, and then Jesus returns. But, that's not what I hold to. I hold to, there being a rapture, and then there's a tribulation, and then there's the second coming of Jesus Christ, where he comes back on the earth. Now, I know that kind of sounds like more than one coming, but, the rapture is supposed to be us being taken to heaven, and that's just what I hold to believe. I think that another reason why someone will say that the rapture or the second coming is on the 6,000th year is because of a few books that are not in the Bible, but I guess in the Epistle of Barnabas, which I don't necessarily recommend reading. I guess this writer, who we don't know if it was really Barnabas, he says that, the rapture will be or the second coming will be on the 6,000th year. And I keep getting the rapture and the second coming confused as I described the 6,000th year, because the person that I heard from, like I was saying, doesn't necessarily believe in the rapture. He believes in the second coming. And so, is the rapture in 2027 or 2031? I don't know. I think it does sound pretty good that, hey, if God created the world in 6 days, then, the earth is only going to be around for 6,000 years. And then on the 7,000th year, when the 1,000 millennial reign of Jesus Christ starts, then after that, God makes a new heavens and a new earth. It sounds pretty good. I know that God seems to work on time frames, that, there are there's an order. Ecclesiastes talks about there's a season for everything. And so it does sound pretty good, but at the same time, I don't know, because I don't know if we have an accurate, kind of description of the years that have gone by. I don't know if someone has accurately recorded it. But that leads me up to the third kind of reason why someone believes that the rapture, or the second coming, is going to be in the year 6000, is because they count from the time that Jesus was on the earth. And there's a few reasons why they do that, and they have that account of, hey, it's going to be on the 6,000th year. One of them is that Jesus said, hey, to the Pharisees. He was talking, and he said, hey, in 2 days, I'm going to destroy the temple, and in 3 days I'm going to raise it from the dead. And so I guess people say that counting 3,000 years from the time of Christ, which was around, we have a pretty accurate description about when Jesus walked the earth and was born. But again, that's from outside sources from the Bible. But I'm not saying that those aren't accurate. But we have, pretty accurate, time frame of when Jesus was on the earth. And so they say that, because Jesus said, on the third day I will, come back to life. He was also talking about, the end times. And I don't know, that's a pretty, kind of big description, a big stretch, but they count 2,000 years that he will be, buried. And on the third day, he rose from the dead. And so they say that that third day is around 2027 to 2031, around those time frames. Another principle from, Jesus, is that when he gave the parable of the man who was the Good Samaritan, who was beaten and overlooked by a few different people, and then finally the Good Samaritan came, and then he put him in an inn, he put him in a hotel or an inn, and he paid him 2 denarii. And then he said, watch him, and he gave him 2 denarii for 2 days. And then he said, he'll come back again and repay him. And so, people take that analogy and say, that Jesus will, counting 2,000 years or so, when we get to that 2,000 year time frame, and you kind of get towards the third day, which represents the millennium, they say that before that third day happens, Jesus will return, or kind of during that third day. And so after I've given you all those descriptions, I won't necessarily link where I got this from in the description, but I can tell you that it's from a channel called 2020's Prophecy.com on YouTube, and the guy's name is Bill Weather, but he goes by Weather Bill. And You can type in 2020 with an S, prophecy. So 2020's prophecy.com on YouTube, though. I'm not necessarily saying go to the website, but on YouTube, and you can see a video titled 6,000th Year Return. But there's a few things, even though I sometimes watch his channel, he doesn't believe in the rapture. He calls it the rap trap. And so he believes that we have to kind of prepare and go through the tribulation. And, I don't necessarily believe that we're going through the tribulation because of Revelation 3:10, which says that he will keep us from the hour of trial, that it's coming on the whole world. And so even if we weren't raptured, it's God, keeping us, and he's going to do something for us. But I believe that God is going to be rapturing us for those that are ready. But so you can view at your own risk, and check out his channel or check out the video. Maybe I'll leave it in the description box of this video, but and so, even as I end this video, even if the rapture is around 2027 or 2031, that leaves no time for the 7-year tribulation, in my opinion. And so that if it was around 2027, 7 years before that is 2020. Now, if it was, 2031, then, I think that puts it around 2024 to be the rapture. And so, in my opinion, we don't have fully accurate kind of time frames, and I think when Jesus said, I'm going to come when you think not, I think that, we can't really predict, even if it's the year, even though when people say, oh, Jesus said no one knows the day or the hour, but we can know the year and the season. I think that, yeah, that sounds good, but at the same time, Jesus said he's coming like a thief in the night. He said he's coming when you think not. And the whole concept of just watching and be ready, the whole concept of the parable of the 5 wise virgins and the 5 foolish virgins, where they all fell asleep, and that's a description of, hey, no one is going to know when he's returning, because if they knew the year, I guess they wouldn't fall asleep, I don't know. That's maybe taking that parable a little bit too literal too. But anyway, it's exciting, I think knowing the year doesn't necessarily change what you are to be doing, but at the same time, don't empty your bank accounts, don't do anything crazy because you feel like you understand when the rapture is. I think it's good to talk about the rapture, and it's exciting, but at the same time, you can't go crazy. Sometimes rapture people, even for a Christian, sounds crazy. I know a lot of things that Christians say do sound crazy to non-Christians, so there's no changing that. But at the same time, you don't want to go overboard with a lot of the different uh, things that happen in the world and a lot of different rapture theories that are out there, you know, and so, you know, should you still go on a vacation? Should you still live your life? And I think that's yes. I think that's a solid yes. Now, I think if your lifestyle is kind of showing that you're not even ready, then yeah, you do have to make some changes, but, you know, that's all I can say about that. So, hey, thanks so much for checking out this video. I just wanted to kind of give what the little knowledge that I know about when the rapture is going to be in the 6,000th year. And, it sounds good, but, I don't know if we can fully find out, on this side of heaven, but Jesus just said no one knows the day or the hour. And so maybe I have to look into this more, because it does kind of make sense that the return of Christ would be in the 6,000th year. And like I said, if you're looking at 2031, then 7 years before that is around 2024. But, you know, like I said, a lot of these time frames and calendars, there's a lot of days that we just don't know. And so I feel like, the rapture is going to be soon, but I think it's best to just look at the signs of the times. And, if you're caught in sin, then it's hard to see. But if you're kind of looking at the different sins that are happening in the world and kind of taking a thermometer and seeing, hey, how corrupt is this world, and how long do you think God can endure? It doesn't seem like God is going to endure something very long. I mean, once the world hit its peak of everyone rejecting God, and that included just the way and their lifestyle, it seemed like, it was only, 100 years until God flooded the world, even though God is long suffering, so don't get me wrong there. But, um, you know, I just don't know when God will be like, hey, this is too much, So thanks so much for checking out this video, and I will talk to you on the next video. See ya.